everybody, JC here from Toy News International, and I'm throwing together this quick video today because I wanted to give you an update on a couple things. I also am going to be doing the TNI Toy Question of the Day, which I know is on a different day than I normally do it, which I'll explain that in a minute as well. And then also I just wanted to talk about a few highlights from New York Comic Con this past weekend. Hopefully you guys have been checking out the coverage on the websites toynewseye.com, marvelousnews.com, tformers.com, and jediinsider.com. But again, I just wanted to go over some of the highlights I thought were interesting from this weekend's show. So first of all, just to give you an update on the channel, I'm going to be traveling this week on some personal business. I'm going to Florida to see my dad. So I've got some videos lined up, some video reviews lined up for this week, recorded and everything to get up there for you guys. But I am actually going to be traveling this week, so I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that. But hopefully everything will go smoothly and I'll still have videos throughout the week. I've got some pretty cool things to review this week. The new Mezco 112 Collective Shadowland Daredevil figure, which was the New York Comic Con exclusive. I've also got a review for the Figma Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Armored Batman figure, and the new NECA Evil Dead Ash vs. Evil Dead figure, the Ash figure. And the fourth figure I've got coming up for review is the SH Figuarts Black Widow figure from Avengers Age of Ultron. So I'm not sure what order I'll be getting those up, but again, those you can look forward to this coming week. Now, as for the TNI Toy Question of the Day, now normally I do that on a Friday, and I ask the question on Friday, and I give you till the following Thursday to give your answer, and then pick the winner on the following Friday. Since I'm going to be traveling this week, since we had New York Comic Con last week, I wasn't able to do it on Friday. And because I'm going to be traveling this week, I didn't want to do it on a Friday when I'm going to be, basically away. So what I'm doing is I'm starting it today, and at the end of this video, I'll ask you the question, and then you'll have until this Sunday, which, let me check the date on that. Today's the 10th, and so you'll have until the 16th to get your answer in. You'll post your comment here, just like always, and I'll pick one entry per person, and then you'll have 24 hours. Once I select the winner, I'll contact them in the comment section here, and then you'll have 24 hours to respond here acknowledging the win, and then you'll email me, and you'll end up claiming your prize. But that is going to take place this coming Sunday as opposed to the normal, which is a Friday to Thursday type deal. So a little different, shaking things up a little bit, but I figure you guys can handle it. So stay tuned to the end of this video, and I will ask you the question of the day and the prize this week, again, will be a $100 store credit to Big Bad Toy Store. So finally, I wanted to talk to you guys about New York Comic Con. So again, it was this past weekend. Not a whole lot new. We didn't really see a whole lot new that we hadn't seen from San Diego Comic Con, which is to be expected. Toy companies, they show most of their stuff at the big show. They hold a few things back for something like New York Comic Con, but generally we see most of the stuff at San Diego. But there were a couple of interesting things which I wanted to touch upon. Now, I did a video the other day, last week, on the Marvel Legends stuff that was shown, so I'm not going to really talk about that in this video. If you didn't check that out, I'll have a link in the video description below. I'll also have a link to all the websites so you can check out the actual coverage of everything, get a look at still pictures and close-ups and things like that. But again, I just wanted to kind of go over some highlights. So the big highlight, I think, and the biggest news was the reveal of the new Super 7 Masters of the Universe Classic figure. So it was announced back at San Diego Comic Con that Super 7, which is a much smaller company than Mattel, is taking over that license from Mattel. Mattel is essentially shutting down Matty Collector at the end of the year, and they're taking over Masters of the Universe Classic. So we got to look at some prototypes, our first batch of prototypes. Now, honestly, these are actually the figures that were being tooled and sculpted by the Four Horsemen before Mattel decided to end the line. So these were already basically, being worked on and everything before, everything happened and such. So these are really, kind of Mattel now are going to be released by Super 7. But I thought they were pretty interesting and nice looking figures. I mean, you know, they're sculpted by the Four Horsemen, who will continue to work on this line with Super 7. So, you know, I wouldn't expect a big change as far as the look of the figures and everything. But the figures that were shown are new versions of He-Man and Skeletor, and also Faker and Ram-Man and Teela. So Teela was probably the coolest one because I know a lot of people missed out on previous versions of Teela, including myself. So now specific details about this line are still being ironed out. So I talked to the folks at Super 7 the other day, and they basically told me that we probably expect the price of these figures to maybe go up about $5 over what Mattel was selling them for. They're not as big a company. They don't order as much from the factory, so they don't quite get as much of a discount as Mattel did. They're using the same factories Mattel was using for these figures, but because they're smaller and the quantities are probably going to be smaller, they just don't get that discount that a larger company like Mattel gets from the factory. So that's basically the main reason why you're seeing a bit of a price increase. So they were selling from Mattel, they were going for like $25, and now my guess is, I mean, they said around $5, but my guess is you can expect to see these cost about $30. Now the big question that still remains is how they're going to handle the selling of these. Are they going to make people subscribe? Are they going to basically just put them up and let people buy them? Are they going to do pre-order? I think the most likely, at least with this first batch, is that they're going to do pre-orders. So hopefully there's not going to, I personally, I do not like subscriptions. I don't like having to be, committed to something, especially when a lot of times you haven't even seen all the figures that are being released. So I'm one of the ones that I'm hoping that they just do a straight up pre-order system and then and then day of sale. But again, I hope they bypass the whole subscription thing. Don't go that route and just do pre-orders. But I think with this initial batch, that's probably the most likely scenario. Even if they change, starting maybe next year, doing a subscription if they want to go that route, and just kind of test the waters to see how these sell. Again, these were already being produced, so there's a lot of the work. There's not going to be much turnaround. They're hoping to take pre-orders for these figures by December of this year, which means we'll probably see them start shipping early next year. Now again, turnaround time normally takes maybe a little bit longer, but again, since these were already being made and everything before the switch, there's going to be less of that kind of thing. Even though they didn't have any specific date, I would expect to see these start shipping early next year, with them starting to take pre-orders this year by December. Now, I got to be honest, I got to wonder how well these are really going to do, because, I mean, let's be honest, all these figures have been released. I mean, they've got some cool accessories and everything, and, they look really nice. And like I said, figures like Teela, a lot of people missed out on. But I've got to think how many of the diehard Masters of the Universe fans out there basically have all these figures, and are they really going to be willing to buy them again, even with the added accessories? I know some will, and some will just buy it just to support the line. There are diehard fans out there who will do that. So that I have no doubt. But when you're talking about, this is how they're testing the waters, I'm sure, and gauging how popular this is going to be. And the fact is, if we're being honest, this line has seen most of the major characters have already been released at least once, if not more than once. And so Super 7 is basically kind of going back to the well, and it's going to be interesting to see how many fans step up and actually buy these things when they start selling it. But only time will tell with that, how that's going to go down. So the other thing I talked to them about briefly was Thundercats, which is something I'm very interested in. I did my review of my first Thundercats figure from Mattel, the Lion-O figure, the other day. And overall, it was a decent figure. I had a few issues with it, especially with him holding the sword. And it turns out I took a blow dryer to his right hand, and that actually helped fix that. I guess the plastic is a softer plastic, and it just got stretched out in the plastic or in the packaging. And so when I took a blow dryer and then kind of squeezed it and it hardened back up, it actually held his sword much better. So if you're having that kind of issue with your Lion-O, you might want to try and take a blow dryer to it. But I like the overall figure. I just had a few issues issues with the accessories on that one. Definitely I like that figure and would love to see more figures from the Four Horsemen, even if it's released through Super 7. So they are actively pursuing that license. Things are progressing, I'm told. Now, you know, these are large corporations. You've got Mattel, you've got Warner Brothers. So, you know, don't expect this, you know, this ball to roll fast. But they are moving forward with switching things, so, you know, the contracts and everything, I'm told. So definitely things are looking good that we will see a continuation down the road of Thundercats. So, you know, like myself, one of my concerns, you know, one of the things I was kind of like, you know, this really sucks is, you know, I subscribed to Mattel's first batch of figures, but I wanted the complete core team, at least the Thundercats. I mean, I would definitely love to see all the mutants and everything as well, but I at least wanted all of the core, the original Thundercats team complete in one scale, which we've yet to get. So I was very disappointed when it was announced that Mattel was basically canceling that. But keep fingers crossed that eventually, probably, you know, we might even be talking about 2018 before we would see any additional figures. But, you know, hopefully that will come. I'm sure they will have more information on that at Toy Fair in February. So that was the big kind of news, I think, as far as toys and everything go from New York Comic Con. There were a few things here and there that we saw just off the top of my head. I think Tomasi Nations, their booth, had some of the most exciting things on display for New York Comic Con. So they had the Voltron figure, the new Voltron figure that they're doing, which is going to cost around $300, have die-cast metal parts and everything. I'm not a huge Thunder or Voltron fan. Just not something that I ever got into that much. I think they're cool. It's not something I ever really collected as a kid or anything like that. So it's not. I don't have that nostalgia factor. But that figure definitely looked nice. They had the Shredder, the SH Figuarts Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Shredder figure. Now that we had seen at San Diego Comic Con, so that really wasn't new. But that was a nice looking figure. They had some, you know, some of their DC SH Figuarts, the Suicide Squad, and Joker and Batman from the Nolan Batman movies. So those were on display, so those were pretty cool. Playmates had some new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Playmates wasn't really there, but at the Nickelodeon booth, they were showing off new WWE Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mashup figures, which I think are kind of cool. I mean, again, for me personally, it doesn't have super appeal, but I think a lot of you who are wrestling and turtle fans will find these interesting. So they're doing Leonardo as John Cena, Raphael as Sting, Donatello as The Undertaker, and Michelangelo as Macho Man Randy Savage. And these are going to be Walmart exclusives due out in November, and they're going to cost about $20 each. We were actually, Playmates showed us these prototypes of these at San Diego, but we weren't really allowed to say anything about them until now. But they were on display at Comic-Con. Playmates also introduced their Voltron line based on the Netflix series. They weren't actually on display, but they put out a press release with images and stuff. Now those, you know, I've seen a lot of you like trying to compare those to like the Tomasi Nations or Toonami deluxe versions and stuff. And that's not really a fair comparison because this is a line that is made for kids, this Ultron line, and you know, the stuff, you know, the Tomasi Nations, that's a $300 figure as opposed to, you know, Playmates' Voltron figure, which is like $49.99. So individually the lines are like, you know, $15-20, something like that. So, you know, it's just not a fair comparison when you guys compare these kids lines to these high deluxe collector lines. But anyway, being not a huge Voltron fan, I don't have a strong opinion on it one way or the other with those. Again, they're clearly made for kids, so you know, if you're going to think about collecting those, keep that in mind, that that's what they're for. They're there for kids, not for adult collectors. If adult collectors collect them, that's great, but that's not who they're marketing them to or making them for. So that pretty much kind of wraps up the main things. There were definitely other cool things, I think, that were on... going back to Tomasi Nations, they also had Street Fighter figures, which I don't think were on display at San Diego. I think this was our first time. They had Chun-Li and Ryu, And those look, if you're a Street Fighter fan, like in the video game figures, those are ones I think you'll definitely want to check out. And they also had a new WWE SH figure art on display with Triple H. Previously, we'd seen The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, so now they've got Triple H that they're adding to their WWE line. So definitely, I think Tomasi Nations is putting out some pretty cool stuff with their SH figure arts, and looking forward to seeing more of that stuff. So that's where I'm going to leave it here. Again, I will have links to all the sites and the New York Comic Con coverage. If you haven't checked it out, I strongly urge you to. A lot of cool things, even stuff that we've seen, getting better looks at it and stuff. So, like I said, be sure to check that out if you haven't already. So now, getting to the toy question of the day. So what I want to know is, what is it you saw from New York Comic Con? Another reason why to make sure you go check out all the coverage. But what was it that you were most impressed with from seeing at New York Comic Con? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be toy related. It can be, movie. There was a lot of movie news with Marvel TV series, Netflix series and stuff. Sigourney Weaver's joining the cast as a villain for the Defenders series, so that should be interesting. My money's on her playing Madam Hydra, being she came out with this green shirt, so I think that was definitely some kind of clue as the character she's playing. But, so what was the thing that you were most interested or most impressed with at seeing at New York Comic Con? So leave your answer below. Again, you have until this coming Sunday, which is the 16th, and then I will pick the winner and announce it by posting it here, by contacting the winner here in the comment section, letting them know they won on Monday the 17th, and then they will have 24 hours to respond and claim their prize. Alright guys, so until next time, I'll catch you later.